We're going to have a really nice panel today. I'm going to let our panelists introduce themselves, and we'll start over here, Sam.
Hi everyone, my name is Samanta Liza. I live in New York. I started DJing and producing a few years ago, but always been writing music pretty much since I was a young teenager, just with my guitar, so got into electronic music recently and super excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Rïa. I also started producing during the pandemic, and she's lying. She's been a musician her whole life. I actually started learning music in the pandemic, and I also live in Brooklyn, New York, and yeah, happy here.
Hi everybody, I'm Luzi Tudor. I'm based primarily out of Los Angeles, and I started DJing about 12 years ago. Yes, 12 years ago, and then started producing 7 years ago.
We're going to go each artist. If you could tell us a little bit about how you got your start, what motivated you, and what challenges or barriers did you confront along your journeys?
That's it for
I'm going to start with the starts. I don't know if we should go all the way back to when I was 12 years old. Okay. Okay, so when I was 12, I started to, I've always been singing, playing the guitar. I'm self-taught on everything that I know how to play, which is guitar, bass guitar, hand percussion, piano. Pretty much, I'm a generalist. I'm not necessarily an expert at a singular instrument, but I like to try to play it all. And yeah, by the time I was in college, I think I'd written like 80 songs, and I hadn't really produced any of them properly. And it wasn't until the pandemic when I started to actually spend more time with professional artists and musicians in the city that I realized, oh, I should rekindle this love that I have for music, because I don't know why I had sort of put it on the back burner. And yeah, just decided to pick up instruments again and start kind of getting into it and allowing myself to channel that creativity. To be honest with you, like my 9 to 5 kind of dulled me, and I kind of just like forgot what it felt like to just feel the music and to create. And so during the pandemic, I actually enrolled in Lee Foss's production course. John Summit was like on Zoom, like teaching us how to use Ableton. That was great, good times. And yeah, that's kind of what kickstarted me and motivated me to learn more. And then yeah, I just put myself out there, kept myself motivated, and still to this day by reminding myself of my North Star, like why am I doing this in the first place? And I was actually just talking to somebody about this earlier, and it's because I like to make an impact, like even if it's just one person or 100 or 1,000,000, I want to know that me putting myself out there, being authentically vulnerable, hopefully encourages somebody else to feel that way, and so that's what keeps me motivated.
One, could you tell us really quick if there was any roadblocks along your journey?
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, there have been so many roadblocks. I think like starting with just, you have to keep pushing yourself to put yourself out there, because you are your #1 proponent. And I will say, like, one of the biggest roadblocks is probably just me getting in my own way and being like, oh, well, why is this person getting this gig, or why does this person have more streams than I do, and then you start to kind of spiral. And I think that's actually one of the worst roadblocks for me, because I get in my own way, and I don't know, I just believe really strongly in the power of our own minds, and if I set my mind to it, I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to get in my own way, and then things will, hopefully just flow.
Right, I mean, just to kind of piggyback back off of that, I think it's human nature almost to compare and almost feel like someone having something is taking away from me having something, even though it's not like that. And you think when you get really good opportunities or you have some kind of success, you feel happy and you want others to feel happy for you. So, it's difficult. Social media, we see things and we're like, oh, maybe we're a little bit jealous. But like you said, it doesn't really serve us. And also I found, and part of the reason why I do this is also very selfish, because I really truly think that just being generous with myself and my time and my energy, things come to me because of it, because I'm putting something out there to like help others, you know, be the best and share what they have. So I really have seen things arrive to me because of that. So I know it sounds kind of hippie, but it's true. So maybe next time you're scrolling, try to like shift your mindset and be like, you know what, good for them. They're gonna kill it, whatever. You know, I'll kill it in my own show. So, Rïa, if you could answer the
You
question.
have to repeat all 3 questions because I've already forgotten.
Yeah, just let us know how you got started, like what really motivated you, because you're a boss bitch in a different world, and also if you've met, you know, came up against any challenges or barriers along the way.
Yeah, so somebody mentioned Spotify earlier, and I actually was one of those people that used to make Spotify playlists, and people would message me on Instagram. I didn't really have like even a following on Instagram at that point, where people were like, hey, we saw your playlist. Are you a DJ? And I was like, no. So I did that. I said no for like 3 years, and then 2019, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try it, and I'll do it for myself at home. And like, if I suck, it's only $200 this little thing, which I bought a DJ for 100, and I was like, I'll just return it if I hate it. It's fine. But I've been like creative my whole life in some way or another, and so it just kind of sucked me in. And I started putting out sets on SoundCloud. I had 200 people, and all of them were my friends on there. And so obviously when your friends are like, oh my god, you're so good, but no, I was not good. But my policy in life is I always compare myself to myself. So every time I put out a set, I obsessively listen to it, even now. And then I hear back the mistakes that I've made, and then the next set I remember like, oh, like try not to do that, or like don't repeat this because it doesn't work. Obviously when you hear pros play, you want to play like them, and I think eventually with a lot of practice you do get there. But the only person you know you can definitely be better than is yourself. So I played my first party in January of 2020, and it was for like 50 people, and right as that party ended, I was like, I need to make my own music. Like I knew right from the get-go, I knew nothing about music, I had no music background, and I had just finished business school, so like literally not even close to music. And then everyone was like, yo, you're just saying that. And I was like, yeah, you're right, I'm probably just saying that. And then COVID hit, and I was stuck in my apartment for like 6 weeks at one point. Actually, no, not even, maybe like a month in. I'd seen every Netflix show at that point. You know, Netflix wasn't geared up for the pandemic either. And I was like, I'm just gonna open GarageBand, which is the free software that Apple serves for kids, and make a song out of loops. And if I make a song out of loops, then I will do something about this, otherwise I won't. So I sent it out to a few friends, and they were like, you made this with all loops? Like, you need to learn Ableton. And I was like, what is Ableton? So in April of 2020, I took like an Ableton 101 class for like, it was online for a couple weeks. It just showed me like what button means, and that was pretty much it. And I just got super engrossed in like the process. And because I'm competitive with myself, I just kept going till I felt like, okay, I think I can do better than this at this point. The thing that I think, I was very lucky because I was very persistent. And because I was not competing with anyone else, I had the balls to send out my music to big labels. I was like, I don't really care what anyone thinks. I think this is good, so I'm going to send it. And once you get into music production, you'll realize that you'll get a lot of rejections and no's. And that is probably my biggest hurdle, because I take rejection very badly. Like, I don't just take it on my shoulder. I take it like, oh my god, I'm the worst producer on earth, like why am I even trying this? So I really do go down a very dark hole. And after every label had said no to this one track, I had been producing for 6 months, so this is like October of 2020. Every label said it was too dark, it was too this, it was too that. I was like, no, I think I'm just gonna give up. And then the other parts said, hey, we like this, we want to release it. And I was like, wait, what? You want to release it? I mean, it was just a matter of like, I just kept sending it out to labels, kept giving the rejection, and I did give myself an NDA. I was like, by the end of 2020, if I don't get signed by any big labels, or not even big, like medium labels, I'm just gonna walk away from this because it's too stressful. And I'll just go back to DJing, which is fun. I enjoy it, whatever. So the big hurdle that I've dealt with is rejection, and Sam has been, unfortunately, in the process of me getting rejected by a label and then just me disappearing for weeks. Like, I can't even open it once I get rejected because I'm just it's a process. And then I like, eventually I'm like, okay, well, I do miss it. So, I go back and then I torture myself all over again. In terms of DJing, like I said, I started with Spotify playlists, so I already had a collection of music I knew I wanted to play. But I've maintained a Spotify playlist since I started it in 2017, and you can see my growth. Like, you can see the organic house, like deep house that I started with. In the middle it went very Anjuna-deep. Now it's more the style that I play, but I've always kept it an ethnic playlist because that's what I want to play. I want people to hear the sounds of the world, not just typical house music that they get to hear at every party anyway. And so my focus has always been like, how do I bring that sound? So that playlist has kind of kept me grounded, but then I try to change my sound depending on where I'm playing. So that's the secret. But my hurdle in terms of DJing has been, I'm not a very good networker. I'm extremely awkward when it comes to introducing myself to people. I'll just stand Rïa and I'll walk away. Like, I don't know how to introduce myself nicely. I don't know how to speak to my strengths. This happens at my 95 jump too, so it's like no surprise that's happening there. But I will say, if you know your strengths, like that's what you've got to play at. If you're not a great producer, but you're a great networker, you can still be a great DJ. Like, there's a lot of ways to play this out. You just have to figure out what your strength is, and sometimes that's where like figuring out your strength.
Well, thank you so much.
Hi everybody. So how I started. So when I was 11 years old, I immigrated to the US. I came from Europe. I was a refugee out of Romania after the revolution when I was 5 years old. And I really found huge solace in the rave scene. So I became really obsessed with it and dropped out of college, took a job during the day in tech, and then at night I started a nightclub promotions company. So I've been obsessed with electronic music pretty much my whole life. And I would sort of dabble in DJing, like, after the DJ would leave, I would like mess around and stuff like that. And I don't really even consider that really my start because it was during a pretty dark time in my life. I've been sober from alcohol for almost 9 years now. It'll be 9 on July 29th. And thank you. And when I took that step and I started really healing myself and I started really looking deep into like my self-worth and my confidence and all of that, I realized that I just like always wanted to do music. I just didn't have the courage. I was always behind the scenes thinking like, how could I possibly ever be the artist? And so I started taking lessons more so for actually another way to like help with my mental health and my work stress, and took lessons from two people. It went okay, and then finally I asked one of my best friends, who's now my biggest mentor in music, to give me like structured lessons. And 3 months in, he was like, I have never seen someone progress this fast in DJing. And I was like, well, I really have in my head all these ideas for like how I think like music should sound essentially. Will you also give me production lessons? And he started giving me production lessons, and that's when I just never turned back. His name is Reyes. He mostly plays in Tulum and Los Angeles and Turkey, but it's Reyes. Johnny Reyes is his full name. He's an incredible teacher, an incredible mentor, and it's just a huge blessing to have had him in person doing that kind of mentorship, which actually when I get to a certain level, I would love to start an organization where I fund people to have in-person lessons and also buy them equipment, because I see those two things as the biggest barrier. So for me, like, literally music has saved my life. Like I said, since I was 11 years old, like, been bullied for being an immigrant my whole life. Like, music was always there. The rave scene was always there. So for me, it's this like thing that I couldn't get away from. Before I really owned the artist thing and really got into music, I actually used Tractor to take a screenshot of your favorite sounds, and with a business partner, I would turn those into paintings. So that was my business for a while. So like, I was always like tiptoeing around actually DJing and producing music until finally I dove in. And as far as biggest challenge, I would say, so I'm going to compare this because I come from tech in my other career. Like, there is no product roadmap or like a clear like book that you can read that's like, if you do this gig, then you play a festival and then you get this track signed, right? So I had to set that aside because I'm a very organized, particular person. And it's just about what can I control and how can I be consistent and get myself out there as much as possible. And that's how I've had what I consider opportunities land that definitely have a component of luck. But like, that luck isn't going to present itself in the absence of my consistency. And so I would say that's the biggest thing.
It's so funny you say consistency because I was just about to make the comment based on what Rïa said. I read and listen to a lot of videos, watch a lot of videos of artists that I respect, like Prince, producers like Rick Rubin and things of that nature. So definitely I recommend doing that, hearing about their journeys and things like that. And that's one of the things, being consistent and working on it and not trusting yourself and being confident in what you have to offer, right? But in terms of my journey, I started DJing because I like to dance. And I was always one of those people that's like, that's gonna be me. And I started in New York, and I had people that supported me and believed in me and gave me opportunities. Because I mean, none of us are an island, right? And that's part of the reason why we're doing this, because like she said, having a mentor, especially in music production, is super important to get you to where you need to be. We're all self-taught to a certain degree, right? But that mentorship is really important to kind of give you the tips and the knowledge and help you get to the next level. And I think in terms of the biggest challenges that I face continuously is dealing with venues and promoters and the people that you have to collaborate with and connect with to do what you need to do. Whether it's them booking you or whether it's you doing events, right? And it's always kind of like a give and take, and negotiation at its foundation is supposed to be beneficial to everyone. It's not supposed to be like, oh, I like got one over on you and I got a better deal. A true, well negotiated deal is good for everyone, right? And that's kind of really difficult to find nowadays because people don't want to pay your fee, or they don't give you, a great slot, or the venue isn't perfect in a certain way. Either the sound sucks, or the bathroom sucks, or the security sucks, or whatever. So it's just kind of playing this balancing game of trying to do your job to the best of your ability and always be professional, and having to, bump up against different situations that aren't necessarily up to the standard. But I mean, my one piece of advice that I always give at these things is to always be extremely professional, show up, do your homework, be friendly to everyone. Don't be a diva, no matter if you're playing Tomorrowland, because just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're better than another person, you know what I mean? We're all just, giving our gifts to the world. So just always be very professional, be ethical, be careful who you work with. I know that can be difficult. There's a lot of people with bad reputations doing things, but I always try my best to not align myself with people whose values don't align with mine, because it represents me, right? I'm giving legitimacy to whatever venue or promoter or person is booking me. So definitely always be ethical, transparent, and honest, and be professional. So the next question I have for you all, we're going to get into business, right? I want to know what piece of information or skill you learned in terms of the business side of things that really had the biggest impact on your career.
So I created 4 templates, and to me they're life-saving. Plus, I literally live out of my calendar. Even fuck it time is literally scheduled into my calendar. So, which is very important. Do nothing time is like a professional athlete. They actually spend the most time in recovery. So is that for the creative mind. So living out of my calendar, number 1. Number 2, I have 4 templates out of Google Sheets, not too complicated, but literally it has my top level goal, like what my next goals are for the next 3, 6, 9 months. Everything is broken down by month. Everything is broken down into a task. Everything is color coded. And that to me is best. I also have a 20-year vision for my music career, and I don't beat myself up when I don't achieve a certain milestone. I just adjust it, but I'm also very realistic with how I achieve things. So I wouldn't have been able to know 3 years ago when I was going to play my first major festival, but I did things that I know would marginally get me on the playing field to have that opportunity, and those are the things that I can control. So also, if anyone wants to write down their emails, I share these templates freely. I've helped other artists that have been in the game even longer than me who adopted these, and it's been really helpful. So happy to share all that stuff for free. So.
I also live off of my calendar. It's like, actually when I first started production, every single day in the evening, I had a block for dedicated music hour. It's actually still in my calendar. I completely just let it be there as a fun little reminder. But yeah, like relax time, hang out with friend time, work time, this time, it's all my calendar. I think there's a lot of things that I have done that have impacted my career, but let me maybe speak a little bit more recently. Some stuff that I've done and I've seen very instant results is I actually hired a boutique artist development agency, and it's been really interesting. I'm just going to put this out there. It's expensive. Like, the only reason I can afford to do this is because I work a full-time job as a senior research manager at Equinox. So that's my 9 to 5, and every other single hour when I'm not eating or sleeping, I am thinking about how can I advance my music career. This agency has helped me realize how important your daily content is on your platforms like social media, is to give people an insight into who you are and what you care about beyond just your music. So it's things like Get Ready With Me is a new trend. I have mixed feelings about it, but I do it. And you know what? I actually realize that I'll just have a stream of consciousness, and in some ways I'm getting to know myself a little bit better, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, it's stuff like that, and they give me some really interesting content ideas, and I follow their schedule, and I learn from them, and I don't plan to work with them forever, but this has helped me understand how I need to break things down in order to gain momentum. Now, what happened as a result of that is that I now have a lot more content on my Instagram, on my YouTube, on my TikTok. What that allowed me to do was set up targeted advertisements to my content, where I would go to a show, I would look at the people, and I would say, looks like there's a bunch of college kids here, and I noticed they really loved my song when I played it. So what I did is I went into my platforms, I created a segment for folks in college, an age group, topics they might like, set up the ad. I spent maybe $50, $80 on this ad, and I saw like my follower count grow like by 500 in like less than a couple of weeks. And I just did that, and I was like, wow, that worked. Okay, music is a business. As much as I kind of hated to admit that when I first started, because I'm just channeling my creativity. So yeah, I've more recently just come to terms with the fact that music is a business, and if you don't treat it like a business, why would you expect to see success? Like, if you're not treating it like a business, you can enjoy the art. That's great, but if you want to get booked at gigs, you have to remember that these are venues that are operating, and they're looking for revenue, and they're looking for you to sell tickets or to bring people to spend at the bar. And if you're not wearing your business hat on, you're just gonna sit there and wait. And that's kind of what I did for a while, and I was like, this is stupid and not getting me anywhere, so let me put my business hat on and think about it differently.
100%.